Samuel Lester wasn't your typical waiter at the Grove. He had a way of turning even the most mundane interaction into a moment that felt genuine. There was no pretense in his demeanor, no hint of judgment. Whether you were a corporate big shot in an Armani suit or someone who had seen better days in their worn-out jeans, Samuel treated you with the same respect. His easy smile and calm, steady presence were what made him a favorite among regulars. But Samuel didn't see himself as special. He just believed that everyone, no matter their story, deserved a little kindness. That Tuesday, the restaurant was unusually quiet. The kind of quiet where the soft jazz in the background didn't just fill the space, but seemed to breathe life into it. The staff moved about with purpose, adjusting silverware, polishing glasses, and preparing for the evening crowd. It was a rhythm Samuel had grown used to, one that offered a strange kind of peace. Then, the doorbell chimed, a sharp, polite sound that broke the stillness. Samuel looked up to see a teenage boy walk in. Two sharp-dressed men flanked him, their movements brisk and deliberate, like they were on high alert. This wasn't your usual guest. Samuel recognized him instantly, Barron Trump. But recognition didn't change the way Samuel treated him. "Welcome to the Grove," Samuel said with the same warm tone he used for everyone. "Table for one?" Barron nodded and, without a word, made his way toward a booth near the window. Samuel followed, menu in hand, and placed it gently on the table. "Take your time," he said, his smile unwavering. Barron barely glanced at the menu before ordering, a cheeseburger and a soda. It was a straightforward choice, unremarkable by any measure. But Samuel didn't blink. He simply nodded, saying, "Coming right up," before heading to the kitchen. As he moved, Samuel's path was blocked by the restaurant's manager, Mr. Walter. A stout man with a face that rarely softened, Walter carried himself like someone who believed every breath was an extension of his authority. "Do you know who that is?" Walter hissed, his voice sharp and low. Samuel paused, glancing briefly toward the booth.
"No, sir."
"Should I?" "That's him," Walter said, his eyes narrowing. "Barron Trump. His father is—" "I know who his father is," Samuel replied calmly, cutting him off before he could finish. Walter's expression tightened. "Then you understand how delicate this is," he snapped. "Stick to the basics. No small talk. No unnecessary interactions. And for God's sake, don't make us look bad." Samuel nodded, keeping his face neutral. Inside, irritation bubbled. He wasn't a rookie, and he didn't need a lecture on how to treat a guest any guest. But instead of arguing, he turned his focus back to Barron's order, ensuring every detail was just right. When he brought the food out, Barron offered a quiet, almost shy, "Thank you." Samuel nodded and returned to his other duties. He didn't hover, but he couldn't help glancing over now and then. There was something about the boy, his silence, the way he kept his head down, that tugged at Samuel's attention. As Barron prepared to leave, Samuel noticed something. A wallet sitting on the booth seat, forgotten. Without hesitation, he called out, "Excuse me, you forgot this." Barron turned, startled, and his eyes flickered with surprise as Samuel handed over the wallet. For a moment, the boy's guarded expression softened. "Thank you," Barron said, his voice steady but sincere. Samuel just smiled. "Anytime. But as he returned to his tasks, he felt the heat of Walter's glare boring into his back. He ignored it or tried to. By the end of the night, as the restaurant quieted once again, Samuel found himself summoned to Walter's office. The room was cold and impersonal, and the moment Samuel stepped inside, he knew something was wrong. "You're fired," Walter said flatly, his tone devoid of emotion. Samuel blinked, unsure he'd heard correctly. "I'm sorry, what?" "You broke protocol," Walter replied, his eyes narrowing. "You jeopardized our reputation." For a moment, Samuel couldn't find the words. Jeopardized their reputation? Over returning a wallet? He left the Grove that night with his head spinning, the weight of the injustice pressing heavy on his chest. Years of dedication were gone in an instant. And for what? Doing the right thing? The next morning, his apartment felt eerily quiet. The faint hum of the fridge was the only sound as Samuel sat on his worn couch, staring blankly at his laptop. Job listings blurred together, each one less promising than the last. He'd poured everything into his career at the Grove, and now he was back at square one. Frustrated, he closed the laptop and leaned back, the ceiling suddenly feeling much closer than it had before. Then, his phone buzzed on the coffee table, breaking the silence. The screen lit up with an unknown number. Probably a telemarketer, Samuel thought, reaching for the phone. "Hello," he answered, his voice flat. "Is this Samuel Lester?" The voice on the other end was deep, commanding, and unfamiliar. "Yes," Samuel said, sitting up straighter. "May I ask who's calling?" "This is Donald Trump." For a moment, Samuel thought it was a joke, a cruel prank. He hesitated, unsure how to respond. Mr. Trump," he finally managed, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Yes," Trump replied. "My son Barron told me about what happened at the restaurant yesterday. He said you helped him when he left his wallet behind. It wasn't a big deal, sir," Samuel stammered. "Anyone would have done the same." "Well, apparently not," Trump said, his tone sharp. "And I heard your manager fired you because of it. That's unacceptable." Samuel's words caught in his throat, unsure of how to respond. The voice on the other end carried on, steady and resolute. "You strike me as the kind of person who stands up for what's right, no matter the cost," Trump said. "I don't tolerate people being penalized for doing the right thing. So, here's what we're going to do. I want you on my team. Name the role you want, and it's yours. We'll take care of the details." For a moment, Samuel sat frozen, the weight of the offer pressing down like a hush before a thunderstorm. I don't know what to say," he stammered. "Say yes," Trump replied with characteristic decisiveness. Before Samuel could find another word, the line clicked dead, leaving him holding the phone as if it had just delivered a life-altering prophecy. The next morning, Samuel found himself standing before the towering grandeur of the Trump International Hotel. Its sleek glass facade shimmered in the sunlight, a stark contrast to the modest Grove where he had spent years of quiet dedication. Adjusting his tie, he stepped through the revolving doors into a world that seemed plucked straight from a movie: marble floors, gleaming chandeliers, and the soft murmur of elegance in motion. "Mr. Lester, welcome." The receptionist greeted him with a professional smile that rivaled the shine of her desk. "Mr. Trump has arranged for you to meet with our executive team." Inside a sunlit conference room, Samuel faced a polished panel of professionals who greeted him with warm handshakes and sharp questions. They wanted to know who he was, what he had done, and, most importantly, what he wanted to do. The conversation flowed like a gentle tide, carrying him to a conclusion he hadn't dared to dream of: a managerial position in guest relations. The salary? It was a number that felt like a foreign language, unreal, unattainable until now. The weeks that followed were a blur of new responsibilities, challenging tasks, and unexpected respect. For the first time in years, Samuel felt seen, not just for his skills but for his principles. Staff members sought his guidance. Guests praised his warm professionalism. Every day, he walked into that hotel with a renewed sense of purpose, leaving behind the shadow of Walter's cold dismissal. Months passed, and Samuel's life felt like it had been rewritten. But one evening, an envelope arrived, crisp, ivory, and embossed with the unmistakable T. Inside was an invitation, a private dinner with the Trump family. That night, seated in an intimate dining room with gilded accents and candlelight casting a golden glow, Samuel felt a mix of nervous energy and quiet gratitude. Across the table, Barron greeted him with a broad smile, his youthful reserve replaced by confidence. "Thank you," Barron said, his voice steady and sincere. "You didn't have to help me that day." "But you did. My dad says people like you are rare." Donald Trump raised his glass, his voice commanding yet warm. "To Samuel Lester, a man who reminds us all that kindness is never wasted." The room erupted in applause, a sound that filled Samuel's chest with something he hadn't felt in a long time: pride. His smile was understated, but his eyes shone with quiet contentment. At that moment, he knew that a single act of unassuming kindness had reshaped his destiny. As the night unfolded, he realized the truth behind Trump's words: doing the right thing isn't just a choice, it's a legacy. And with that, Samuel's journey, born from a simple act of decency, became a testament to how even the smallest moments can ripple outward, changing lives in the most unexpected ways.